What's going on, guys? Aero here, and guys, right now in this time of year, everybody in the Pokemon community is waiting for the next new Pokemon game announcement. And I know how a lot of people are saying that we might not actually be getting a Pokemon game this year. I'm actually pretty confident that we are going to be getting a Pokemon game this year. I'm going to say like I'm 95% sure that we are going to be getting a Pokemon game this year, because Game Freak has always been pretty consistent in providing us a Pokemon game every year to play. I mean, it's pretty rare when Game Freak ever decides to take like a break and not give us a main series Pokemon game. I think like the last break that they took was in 2015 when like everybody was expecting Pokemon Z to come out and we just didn't get any main series Pokemon game. They did release like a mystery dungeon game that year, but like we didn't get any main series Pokemon game to play. And so since 2015 wasn't really that long ago, it was only 2 years ago, it really doesn't make sense for them to take another break all of a sudden and just not give us a main series Pokemon game this year. And so that's why I definitely do think that we are going to be getting some type of main series Pokemon game this year. And I know how a lot of people are going off of the Pokemon Stars rumor that Pokemon Stars is going to be coming out for the Nintendo Switch. I don't know, guys, like thinking about it a little bit more, I think that we might not actually be getting the next new Pokemon game on the Nintendo Switch. And the reason that I'm saying that is because Game Freak always wants to make sure that whenever they release a new game, that their game is available to the most amount of people possible. And the reason that I'm saying that is because that's what Game Freak always goes by. And like if you guys look at previous previous games that they've released, there's always been a few times when Game Freak has released brand new games when there's already the next generation of a Nintendo console that's been out, but they still decide to release it on the previous console before they make like a new console, before like they make the game for the new console. And one of the most recent examples of this is Pokemon Black and White 2. Now if you guys remember Pokemon Black and White 2, that game I'm pretty sure it came out in 2012. Now in 2012, when Pokemon Black and White 2 came out, the Nintendo 3DS, the next new generation of Nintendo's handheld gaming was already out. And when they released Pokemon Black and White 2, they released it for the original DS system. And I know even myself back then, I was a little bit confused as well. I was like, alright Game Freak, what are you guys doing? This is like the brand new generation of Nintendo right now. You guys have this powerful brand new 3DS to use, and you guys are still releasing your games on the previous old DS. So like, why are you guys doing that? And the reason that they did that was because since the 3DS was still new, it wasn't in the homes of many people. There were still so many people trying to buy 3DSs and make sure that they could get them before Game Freak actually released a game. And since the DS was pretty much old, there were millions of people already who had a DS in their homes, so it made sense to release a Pokemon game on that because people could just go out and buy the game and not have to buy a brand new system. So I think that Game Freak might be taking a similar approach this time with the Nintendo Switch, where they might wait this year and see how like people are buying the Nintendo Switch, and next year when there's going to be a lot of Nintendo Switches in people's homes, especially with games like Splatoon 2 and Mario Odyssey coming out this year, it's definitely going to sell a lot of Nintendo Switches. And by next year, I think that Game Freak will definitely be ready to have a big Pokemon game coming out for the Nintendo Switch, because then there's going to be a lot of Nintendo Switches in people's homes. So I can definitely see that being a reason. Like I can see them not giving a Pokemon game this year, because they want to make sure that they can give it to the biggest amount of people. And you guys already know that the 3DS is selling a lot right now, so there's definitely going to be a lot of people to sell the 3DS game to if they make it for the 3DS. So that's why I do think that it might actually be coming out for the Nintendo, or for the 3DS instead of the Nintendo Switch. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be saying, but you know, who knows, maybe they might actually make it for the Switch this year as well. I'm definitely want it to come out on the Switch. I'm not saying I want it to come out for the 3DS. Like I don't want it to come out for the 3DS at all. I'm just saying, like, going off of what they've done in the past, I think it might make sense for them to release it on the 3DS this year and then give us a next new Pokemon game next year on the Nintendo Switch. I know how a lot of people are also saying like only new generations can come out on new Nintendo systems. I don't really see that being the case. I think that they just want to make sure that they have a bigger amount of like people who already have the console to give the game to, rather than having people buy the console just to play that game. So yeah, also right now, like how I said, this month everybody's waiting for a Pokemon game announcement. I'm gonna put up this little picture right here that I found online, and you guys can see right here that May has always been a really important month right now for Pokemon announcements. We've always gotten a lot of Pokemon announcements in May, so it definitely makes sense on how we could get a Pokemon announcement soon. And I know how in my previous video I was talking about how like there's hints of a new Nintendo Direct coming, how like the Pokemon Stars merchandise that they're selling could actually hint that a Pokemon Stars might be coming, and also something that happened after I made that video was that Nintendo all of a sudden mysteriously decided to remove the Pokemon Sun and Moon videos from their main Nintendo channel. Now if you guys know the main Nintendo channel on YouTube, then you know that that's where like Nintendo Directs and stuff are posted. Now do you guys remember that Pokemon Direct that happened last year when they announced Pokemon Sun and Moon? It wasn't like when they showed off the reveal trailer, it wasn't like when they showed off like all the starters and everything. It was just like that announcement trailer. Remember they had like that little you know, like trailer that happened before it where they showed like a whole bunch of people playing Pokemon from like the original Red and Blue to all the way up to X and Y, and then they announced Pokemon Sun and Moon. That trailer, like that whole video, has actually been removed from Nintendo's channel, as well as some other Pokemon Sun and Moon videos as well. And so that's definitely a little bit of something that raises an eyebrow. Like you're wondering a little bit like, why would you do that all of a sudden? And I know how some people may have thought like maybe no one will notice, but of course this is the internet, so people are gonna notice like in a second. And so that's what a lot of people were able to catch. And a lot of times though, I think that this makes sense that they would want to do this if there's going to be a Pokemon game coming out this year that might actually be a little bit confusing if it's compared back to Pokemon Sun and Moon. Like if there's going to be a Pokemon Stars or whatever it's going to be this year, then they might not want to make sure people get confused with Pokemon Sun and Moon and be like, okay, is this game already out or is this game coming out? And so I can definitely see like that being a reason as to why they removed that from their YouTube page, because they don't want to get people confused with that. Because like if you're saying that they're just really that they just took it away because it's like an old game now and it's not that relevant anymore, I mean the Pokemon X and Y reveal trailer is still up there and that's from 2013. So why would they remove something from 1 year ago but not remove something from like 4 years ago? So I definitely do think that that could be the reason why, like they don't want to have any confusion or anything. And also another thing that I do want to talk to you guys about is how I was looking through CoroCoro, and if you guys remember CoroCoro, it's like that magazine that gives us a lot of Pokemon information. Pretty much all of the information that came out last year for Pokemon Sun and Moon when I was making all my videos came from CoroCoro. And now CoroCoro is like a Japanese magazine that gives us a lot of Pokemon information, and this month's issue actually, this recently came out I think like a few days ago, it actually featured an entire page on Necrozma. Now if you guys remember Necrozma, it is a legendary Pokemon that's in Pokemon Sun and Moon. Now this Pokemon actually is a Pokemon that isn't so directly like it isn't like directly for you to be able to find it in the game. You kind of more have to like research about it and know about this Pokemon. Like it isn't like directly told at you, like, you know, you can go and find Necrozma here. And so that's what it's telling you guys in this article. It's like saying like you can find Necrozma in the game by having like all of the Ultra Beasts and stuff like that. And so I think that that's pretty interesting how all of a sudden that they're focusing on Necrozma. Now I definitely do think that this is going to be targeted towards those people who don't keep up to date with the Pokemon information that much. Like you guys that are watching this video right now, you guys are like the type of people who are up to date with the Pokemon news. You guys watch other people who give you guys Pokemon content, and so you guys are in the realm of like people who know everything that's going on in Pokemon right now. But then there's also those people who don't know about that, like they don't know about Marshadow or any of these other Pokemon, and they actually get genuinely surprised when they see Marshadow and stuff like that posted on the official Pokemon YouTube channel. And so there's definitely people right now who might actually have no clue about Necrozma or the fact that this Pokemon even exists. Now if you guys are like me who keep up to date with your Pokemon news, then you guys knew about this Pokemon since the demo leaks that happened in like October. But like some people who are genuinely surprised by this can actually look and like find that this Pokemon is in fact in the game and stuff like that. And so I do think it's interesting how they're focusing on this Pokemon all of a sudden. I know how I said with like Pokemon Stars and all, like they might actually focus on Cosmog because it's like a cosmic Pokemon and stars and all that, but I think it might actually make sense this time to focus on this Pokemon instead, because this is the third legendary, and if the next new Pokemon game is going to be like a third version of Pokemon Sun and Moon, then it makes sense to feature the third legendary, such as how all previous third like versions of Pokemon games have featured the third legendary, like how Rayquaza was featured in Pokemon Emerald, and like how Giratina was featured in Pokemon Platinum. And so I definitely do think that this could make a lot of sense. And as for like how the Pokemon game could be named, now I did hear that Pokemon Stars isn't actually going to be like the real name. I don't know why a lot of people are thinking that Pokemon Stars could actually be the real name. It could very well be the real name, but I'm pretty sure like that original article that we heard way back from Eurogamer in like November of last year, I'm pretty sure it said that Pokemon Stars was the code name, like how Pokemon Rainbow was a code name for Pokemon Sun and Moon. So I think that Pokemon Stars being a code name definitely makes sense if Necrozma is going to be featured on the game's cover, because it makes a lot of sense, because Necrozma obviously isn't like a star Pokemon. It's not even a star Pokemon, so I think it makes sense if it's going to be entitled something else like the game. And you know, I think that from me like looking at and seeing all of this information, I actually think that the next new Pokemon game might be called Pokemon PRISM, and the reason that I'm saying that is because if you guys think about the 3 things that I put up on screen for you guys, I'm going to put up the sun, the moon, and a prism. Now if you guys look at all of these 3 things, then each of these can be based off of the Pokemon that are in Pokemon Sun and Moon. Obviously the sun is going to be Solgaleo, the moon is going to be Lunala, and the prism goes with Necrozma. Now everything relates to each other in this, like the sun is actually what makes the light. Now you guys know whenever you look outside and you see all the bright light, it comes from the sun. The sun is what provides all of us the light that we can see and all of the brightness that we see around us. And then the moon actually reflects the light. Now when you guys look at the moon at night and you see the moon shining, it's not like the moon is able to give off its light by itself. It's actually reflecting the light from the sun, and that's what makes the moon shine white when you guys look at it. And the thing about prisms is that prisms are actually able to refract light, and by refracting light, basically what that means is they can change like the direction of light and stuff like that. And so that's pretty interesting, and I think that since all of those 3 relate to each other, it might actually make sense to have a Pokemon Prism being the next new Pokemon game. So that definitely seems like it could be a likely thing. So I think that we could actually get a Pokemon Prism as the next new Pokemon game, or maybe it might be something in that sort of ballpark, like maybe Pokemon Light or something like that. But I definitely do think that we could get something based off of Necrozma this year, and so I'm really excited this year, guys. I think we could actually be getting a really cool Pokemon game. Still not really sure if it's going to be on the Switch or the 3DS, but like what I said in this video, I think it could actually be on the 3DS now. I think there's a better chance of it coming on the 3DS than the Switch this year, even though I do really want it to come out on the Switch. But yeah, I think that either way, we're going to be getting a cool Pokemon game this year. I'm almost certain we're going to be getting it. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of all of this information down below. And as always, if you guys enjoyed this video, please be sure to click that like button. It really does help me out. If you're new to this channel, then be sure to subscribe. I've got a lot of cool Nintendo content coming in the future, as well as some great Nintendo content that's already available right now. And if you guys are enjoying what I do, then please be sure to follow me on Twitter at @ActualAero. You guys can tweet me something if you want, and you can also ask me other questions and stuff like that as well. And yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching.